for your breaks. Okay, so I guess I am live on YouTube as well. Hello, guys. If you're watching me on YouTube, let me make sure I fix this camera first. Okay. What else needs to be done here? Well, probably not much. I'm able to see my comments on YouTube and I'm able to see my comments on TikTok. Maybe I should look this way so it looks better on YouTube. So as many of you know, my name is Alex. I'm a founder of Dispatch Training Center. You guys have been following me for a while. And I can tell you this, I am not your ordinary instructor. I'm not a person who is going to sweet talk to you and promise that you're going to become a millionaire in trucking. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm very direct. It's not only business I have been into. So I look at the trucking from different perspectives, right? From insurance side, from owning the trucking company, for being a dispatcher, from liability, also being a woman in trucking. It's also a big topic which we should discuss. Running trucking company as a woman is very, very challenging. So first, let's see. If you guys have any questions, make sure you write them. If you my previous students or if you in my class right now, make sure you ask if you still confused about some subjects. But let's probably start with most popular scams. Let's start from our drivers, right? I know the driver is going to say, well, we are angels, right? We do not scam. So what is the biggest scams that drivers do nowadays? And of course, it's fuel, right? So how driver can really scam you? Let's think about it. Well, the fastest way to figure out if your driver is scamming you is to look how many miles he have been driving this week. Let's say start from Monday till Saturday and look how many gallons he put in that truck. Well, most of you business owners, you should know your MPG, correct? So if you take the full miles from your ELD, not from your fake added and everything, but hopefully your real ELD miles. And if you divide by those gallons, you will get MPG. It depends how old is your truck, how heavy the loads were this week. Well, it can vary, but not that much. So if you have a newer truck, probably your MPG is going to be between 7, 7.5, maybe 8 if you were not going through mountains. If you have a steady driver who knows how to drive, maybe you're lucky to hit that 8, but not more than that. So what is a red flag here? Well, you calculate that and your MPG for your 2024, 2023 truck or 2019 truck is only 5, 5.5, 6. What does it mean? That means that your driver is stealing fuel from you. And how do they do it? Well, on truck stop, you go to the owner operator and you tell him, listen, the diesel is $4. I'm gonna sell it for you for $3, but cash. He's taking your fuel card. He's putting that 100 gallons to somebody else's truck. There you go. Owner operator just save $1. So if he put 100 gallons, let's say, actually he saved money and your driver made cash. So dear owner operators and dear owners of the trucking company, please make sure you check your drivers. I know that sometimes you think that, no, my driver cannot do this, but market is tough. People actually going through survival. And if it's easy to make extra $200-$300 a week, why not? So make sure you guys know how to check on that, right? So what else? What else going on? Well, how do the owners of trucking companies scam the drivers if you pay per mile. Well, here is also a big challenge for people who still fake ELDs, because usually when you manipulate your ELDs and you run a report in the end of the week to pay per mile, well, sometimes they're not going to be accurate. That's one thing. A lot of companies do not include deadhead. So let me ask you this. If you paying for only loaded miles, correct? And your dispatch sucks and your driver deadheads all the time 150, 200 miles between the loads, do you think it's fair if you paying per mile? Well, your driver's still driving. He goes to pick up, he goes to delivery. And if your dispatch team doesn't know how to eliminate empty miles, well, it shouldn't be his concern. So that's another scam. Why a lot of companies are not paying for those miles? Because simply, well, we're already in survival mode. Plus, if they pay for every mile, they probably would be already out of the business, right? Okay. Insurance scams. Let me see if any of you lately got scammed. And be honest about it, especially for newer people. Because you try to activate UMC, you try to activate your USDOT number, you go, you get quote, and you are not ready for that. So you start shopping around. Remember, the moment you apply for that USDOT number, the moment you apply for that MC number, your records are public knowledge. That's why you're receiving so many phone calls that everybody calls you and they sound like they're FMCSA. They sound they USDOT Department of Transportation. They sound like they drug and alcohol programs. And some of them are, but they are third-party providers. And a lot of times, insurance scammers call you and they say, let's say I like to use the name Mike. I don't know, it's easy to use. Hey, Mike, with, let's say, Magic Transportation. Well, you want to activate MC. Progressive quotes are really high, but we have a newer insurance, and sometimes they even use the well-known insurance name, same as Progressive, and they tell, well, we can get you better quote. And they actually fake quote for you. What they ask you? Well, they ask you for your routing number, or they ask you to wire down payment for your new policy. And of course, when you see the difference, let's say between regular policy, $22,000 a year, and now suddenly they are offering you $15,000 and they are asking for $6,000 down payment, in your head, what are you doing? Well, you're thinking, I am saving $7,000, $8,000 a year. And you wire the money, you give them banking account, they even send you actually a fake certificate of insurance. Time goes by and your MC is not even getting active. You start calling FMCSA, what's going on? And FMCSA tells you, well, we cannot activate UMC because you still don't have insurance on file. You start reaching out to this agent, you start emailing them, and finally you figure it out. Wow, this is a Google form. Well, that email does not exist any longer, and you cannot reach anyone. So, dear new owners or owners who've been in business but you are looking to save that money on insurance, well, double check who you're working with. Make sure that those are real licenses. Make sure that they really work as insurance agents, and never ever wire any money unless you confirm. So when you apply and you fill out the application and you have underwriter, well, you can call and see, is this a real company? So please do not jump for those cheap insurance. Let me tell you, as insurance agent, they do not exist. If we would have possibility to have so good insurance coverage for brand new carriers, well, I would have so many carriers waiting right, in my office. But the reality is, it's a high liability business. And until you're going to be 2 years in business, and until you have drivers who have CDL for 2 years, your insurance will be high. And most of you are not ready for this. So write down, before you go and pay money for that MC, get the quote and know the reality, because insurance will be one of the biggest costs in your operational cost. After that, it's going to be your equipment, right? Many of us, let's say I came to trucking in 2013, and you know what, back then, when we were buying trucks, especially in 2017-18, the down payment, you could put only $1,000 down payment, and you would get finance from Daimler directly if you were buying Freightliner. And the rates were like 3.5 to 5. And back then I was like, oh my God, it's high, because I was getting my personal cars like, say, 0.99, 1.5. So that was high. So let's talk about the reality of financing today. Well, you are looking at 15 to 25% for actually interest. Yesterday I had operational cost class with my students, and we were calculating. We just did not really look into one little number there. If you were buying the truck for 200,000 and you put down 20%, 40,000, and you finance it for 72 years, and we put generous 15, 16%, well, within those 72 months, you're gonna pay 110,000 in interest. So now calculate how much the truck is gonna cost you. Well, then you have the fuel, then you have dispatch, then you have breakdowns, maintenance account. So is trucking gonna be a cheap business to operate? Not really. That's why I advise you guys, before you try to open trucking company, before you try to go and borrow money, or maybe you have saved money over the years and now finally like, I am tired of working for somebody else, I want to open my own company. Well, maybe you should first take at least safety class or dispatch class, learn how to do this, or simply webinar. We also have webinar. I don't do them that often, but we will have one in beginning of May, and it's $199, 4 hours webinar, where we're gonna go in details what to do, not to do, when we're gonna be calculating all of this cost, when I am gonna tell you the reality of the trucking. And then you have the picture, and you can actually decide, am I ready to go into trucking right now? Okay, so let's see the questions. Well, let me move this here. I like learning from you. Thank you. We have our YouTubers, and will be your next class. Our next class for freight dispatch is April 26th, and our IFTA, I just moved to April 12th because we had a lot of students from dispatch training who want to join the class, and they are finishing actually this Saturday with dispatch training. So our IFTA will be April 12th, and after that we're starting our safety. So April 13th, 4 classes, we have our safety. Make sure if you're looking to learn safety and compliance, just get the bundle, because first you're going to save a lot of money, and you need to know IFTA anyway for safety and compliance. So buying the classes separately doesn't make sense. So make sure if you go on our website, learndispatchtoday.com, you go for bundle. Also lately, I had a lot of students who buy a bundle for dispatch, safety, and IFTA. That way you're saving $600, which is a lot of saving. Also, if it's two of you guys, you can also reach out, 2 or 3 people. We always give you discount. Okay. So I answer that to Sarah. Would love to get more info of your dispatching class. In the process of starting a box truck business with my husband, I would love to get the dispatching site. Well, again, a lot of people who dispatch box trucks or any specialty equipment, they reach out to me and they ask, well, will you teach me how to dispatch the box truck? Well, in my class, we concentrate on principles of dispatching any equipment, and we do have access to truck stop DAT1. But for example, we do not have access to selectors because I never deal with a box truck or sprinters. So you will still learn how to do this business. You will still learn how to do safety and compliance and how to negotiate. The only thing is going to be, well, you will need to adjust to different load boards and different equipment. So we did had a lot of people with box truck community who did take the classes, and eventually they got tired of box trucks and they move up to semis, or they actually start doing the last minute trucking or drayage. So there's a lot of possibilities. Okay. Again, Sarah, I will not be answering all of this, how many weeks. There is a schedule. You can go to learndispatchtoday.com. I will put the link and you can look at schedule. Usually it's 5 weeks because we have class on Saturdays for dispatch, and the 6th class is going to be during the week. So it's going to take us 6 weeks, but the class is only on weekends. Let's see what is my TikTokers are asking. Are you just dispatch, or do you guys have company drivers? Well, we not just dispatch. We have trucking company, but we only have owner operators. We do not deal with drivers anymore. 6 months in with a new MC. Love learning from you. Thank you, Liam. Well, let's think about this. 6 months with MC. What are challenges there? Well, Liam already survived 6 months, so congratulations. Probably the toughest were what? Were the first months. And now at least you are reaching to the point that you can get set up with extra brokers, right? But of course, hopefully you have your insurance, random inspection, so it makes it easy. If not, keep going to those wait stations and hopefully ask them nicely to do inspection for you, so it's going to be posted on Safer. Also, since you are brand new and you're working with a limited number of brokers, the way you do business is very important. While you're in negotiation, always remember to ask the broker, well, what is how often do you have this lane? Do you have any backhaul? I would love to continue working with you, because unfortunately, when you just start, and especially in this market, well, let's be honest, we kind of have to kiss their little butts. And it all comes with that. Giving them update on time, being nice, making sure you provide PODs, making sure that you ask for upcoming loads. But you don't have to settle for nonsense, right? You still have to run the business. But a lot of brokers like to work with the companies who take care of their stuff, updating them. If emergency rise, well, you making sure you reschedule. So this is important. It doesn't matter what market does, your negotiation, but mostly remaining those relationship is important. And how do we do it? Well, by giving update, by making sure the driver knows the information, but making sure that you have realistic transit, right? But making sure that you're not making up that shit stories that again you broke down and your engine explode just because what? Just because you did not calculate your transit. Well, first, if you start making up those stories, they still gonna mark you as, oh, look at that light, as not reliable carrier. That's a little bit too bright. Well, I don't know how that switch, I guess. I guess now you're gonna see me with that bright light. Well, hopefully it's not gonna hurt me much and I can still read your question. How much for class cost? Well, our classes are safety 1050 with IFTA. IFTA is 399 if you just do IFTA, and dispatch training is 999. Okay, what else? Um, do you offer lease to purchase? Personally, my company, no, we do not do that. Let's talk about that lease to purchase, right? Let's see. Other scams there. So let's see if we have any drivers who got scammed in the last year or so with lease to purchase agreements. Personally, me, I had a lot of students who've been following me, and I had a person who I thought was kind of my friend, the owner of the DVL Express, right? They filed bankruptcy in November, and a lot of drivers had the lease to purchase option. So they were paying on time. They were hoping that the truck will be theirs. And suddenly, in November, December, well, they would show up to pick up a delivery and their truck was taken away. Why? Well, because DVL Express decided not to make payments since summer. Well, they were not honest about this, right? So now if you drive around, they change the name because, of course, those big mega carriers, they don't have just one MC. So they go file bankruptcy on one and they still continue business with another. So this is a red flags. You need to always make sure other payments are actually made. So if you made the agreement and you know that this truck is financed, let's just say Volvo financing. Well, you can always call directly Volvo financing or Daimler and figure out other payments are being made, because what's going on? Well, we are in survival mode, right? So a lot of people are going out of business, but they still want to take money from you, so they still booking, because when you stop paying for your truck or trailer, well, they don't take your truck or trailer the next day you miss the payment. Usually it's 6 months. Because first you miss first payment, second, third. What the smart people do? Well, they miss 3 payments, then they make another payment, and that company cannot really go and take the truck because, well, you catch up with one payment. Then they stop paying again for 2-3 months. Then they do another payment, so they prolong that, right? And you still paying every month. You made a down payment, and that's what's happening with those lease agreements. So be very careful, especially right now. Well, what else? What else do they do? Well, a lot of times they promise you're gonna make this many payments and truck will be yours. When the time comes up, well, they make up some story, or they find some excuse, or they simply stop giving you loads, right? So you barely can make payments, and they take truck away. They say, well, you cannot make payment and you're not happy, you start fighting with dispatch. And that's what's going on with all that lease to purchase agreements, right? A lot of times nowadays, if you a driver, I'm telling you, and I can scream about it loudly and tell you, stay a driver. Do not follow for this so good lease promises, because in this market, after you pay your lease agreement, after you pay insurance, after you pay all other fees, well, you're gonna make less money if you would just work per mile right now. So the best position right now, and I'm stressing this out to everybody, if you are a driver in a company driving that brand new truck, and especially if they're even faking ELD and they're paying you per mile, Do not go to percentage, because with this market rates, and it depends on their dispatch, on percentage, you're going to make less per mile. So listen to me. I calculated this million times. Unless you work on maybe specialty equipment, and let's say you are flatbed and they're going to do bunch of partials, if they do have a good dispatch, then maybe you should go in percentage. Otherwise, you go in per mile. You'd better get that 62, 65 cents per mile steady pay, and that would be your golden choice. Okay, so let's see. How will market be after tariffs? Well, if tariffs gonna go in a full surge, well, what's gonna happen? People not gonna be able to buy much because the price is gonna go up, and if volume of the freight goes down, supply and demand, of course, right? So if average American person is buying less, that means that any American company who resells goods, retail goods, produce, whatever we resell, are not gonna order as much because people cannot afford it. So what's gonna happen? Overcapacity of the trucks, not enough loads, and the prices are not gonna go up. Let's see today what's going on. We are in 27th of March 2025. I'm just saying it for the record. You know why I'm saying this? Because some of you finding my YouTube channel just now, and I do believe, actually, I was reviewing, my YouTube and TikTok, and I do believe I started YouTube like 3 years ago, maybe even 4. And when you watch those beginning videos, pay attention to the date, because you cannot compare that market, right? Because I receive text messages. Oh, Alex, I want you to dispatch you because look at your rates. I was watching your channel and you still dispatching trucks $3 per mile, $3.50 per mile. Well, guys, which year? So pay attention when it was posted. But let's look right now. So in March, dry vans. Oh, thank you. Thank you for the like. By the way, if you're watching us on YouTube, you can also give us a gift. And many of you know we give the free education. So if you subscribe to our TikTok, if you subscribe to our YouTube, which is like $4 per month, you will be a part of changing somebody's life through education, because we do give free trainings for dispatch, for safety, and other trainings. So let's look. Dry van compared to February. Well, we went down 3 cents, but remember, we don't really have the real numbers yet. So it's $1.99. So in reality, in 2025, on a loaded miles, we are showing $1.99. This is a national average. So it's approximately, we're talking about dispatcher and company who've been in business, who have MC at least for year or two, who don't really have any claims, not flagged on carrier 411, so they can average that $1.99 with all miles if they are pro dispatcher. But if you do not pay attention to your empty miles, well, that $1.99, when you really calculate, is going to become $1.80, $1.81. If you're a bigger company and you do have at least some dedicated lanes, or if you're a dispatcher using that power of negotiation and saying, well, I do have 5 trucks today in Chicago. Let's book it load from Chicago, let's say, to Massachusetts instead of 2,700. Well, let's book it to 29 because I do have 5 trucks. We've been in business. We're gonna be there on time. Well, they have equipment, they have capacity, they know how to negotiate, so their rate should be a little higher. So if they know what they're doing, they should be around $2.10 to $15. Not more than that, guys. If somebody's telling you, we're still running our dry vans on average at 240 to 50, I can tell you this is a total BS. If they really calculate all miles and they really include all of this, the reality is $2 per mile, 210 the most. Then pay attention where you're going. Well, if you're going to East Coast all the time, maybe you are averaging 215, but the cost of the tolls is critical, right? So after you pay those tolls, after you deal with backhaul back, you're still gonna be at the same rate per mile. Let's look at our flatbeds. So our flatbeds are going up. How much? Who can guess? Who can guess how much more flatbed went up compared to February? Well, I can tell you in February, the flatbed step decks were approximately $2.44, and now they're at $2.52. So there you go, 8 cents per mile. We're not talking about 30 cents. We're not talking about 20 cents. We're not talking about extra dollar. It's only 8 cents per mile. But I can tell you this, that 8 cents per mile can make a big difference, because when you really know your operational cost, and let's say you break even at $2, that extra 8 cents per each truck is going to help you to survive. Let's go to our reefers. And what's going on with reefers? Well, reefers went down. And why did they go down? Well, who can answer this? Let's see. Well, we were at 235. Now we're at 227. Well, we are losing 6-7 cents per mile. If I have my students here, or my previous students, or any pro driver or pro dispatcher, well, who can explain this? Why? Well, simply because we are in between the seasons, right? We're in March. So season in USA did not really started yet. So that's why the prices are not really up. We can see the spike of the prices probably next week or so for certain commodities. Well, why? Because we're all gonna enjoy the Easter, and people who run reefers probably gonna make a little extra money with the eggs, right? Eggs, again, ham, we make ham on Easter. Maybe some people make turkey, but mostly it's going to be ham and eggs. Plus, what else are we gonna be bringing from Florida? Well, those palm, what do you call them? Little, not palm trees, but little, I don't even know how to call them. Well, we put them in church. So some people will make extra money. How long is it gonna last? Well, only 2 weeks. Well, you as a pro dispatcher, now you need to know, where do we bring eggs from? Which state? Where is the ham coming from? And again, where are we bringing those palm trees or those palm little again, cannot remember the English word. I can say it in Russian or Ukrainian. Пальмовые веточки. So if somebody listens to me who is speaks Russian or Ukrainian, please write it to me. So where the eggs come from? Of course, it's going to be Ohio. It's going to be Michigan, correct? It's going to be Minnesota. And where our ham comes from? Well, it comes from South Illinois. It comes from Iowa, Nebraska, Kansas. So pay attention to those commodities and remember about eggs. The challenge is there. You need to make sure you wash your truck and trailer inside out. Do not forget to ask for reimbursement, because nowadays it's cost money to wash the truck inside and out and have a receipt. So a lot of times dispatchers forget about that little thing, and driver goes deadhead to facility and they reject the trailer because he cannot give the receipt that he washed truck and trailer within the last 6-8 hours. What else the challenges with eggs? Well, make sure that you secure the load, make sure that you have air right, and make sure that you still deliver eggs and not the omelet, right? Special with a ham. What are the challenges with a ham? Remember, when they're gonna be posting this as a load, sometimes a broker is gonna say, well, it's going to be meat. Remember that we have a lot of drivers who will not be hauling ham. So verify that with your driver. Is he willing to do that? Maybe to make extra money, but if he's not, can you push him? No, no, and no. Okay, so we were talking about the market. What else? Let's see. Any questions, guys, today? Let's have a mock call. A mock call for who? For you as a future pro dispatcher? So I have somebody on TikTok asking about the mock call. Okay, I see that he is tee up for Abasi, so probably a future pro dispatcher. What do you think about to buy truck if you are the dispatcher? Here is the thing. Yes, you're gonna do dispatch better for your own truck, but you're still gonna have the same challenge as every owner of the truck has. Oh, thank you for the roses. What about my YouTube? Do you have any gifters there? It's only $2, YouTubers. You can chip in for the future free class for somebody. Wow, you're gonna be able to dispatch hopefully better for yourself because it's your driver, it's your truck. But the problem's going to be to find that qualified driver, right? It's not that hard to go buy the truck. It's not that hard to find the trailer. It's not that hard to go and even start dispatching. The biggest issue and the biggest challenge in trucking is still what? Finding qualified drivers. So let's talk about this a little bit. Hiring the driver nowadays. Well, first, before you get excited that somebody is texting you back or somebody's calling and say, oh, I'm a driver with 5 years experience, I'll make sure you know the hiring process. Remember the first thing. Before you do anything, before you check his MVR, before you ask him for CDL, well, you'd better make sure that he signs that he is okay with you checking his personal information. So we have a special forms for future driver, now still applicant, to fill out. So after he agrees to all these consents, that you're gonna check his MVR, that you're gonna look at his, let's say, social security, that you're gonna check he's in a clearinghouse, well, you need to have a consent from the driver. Believe it or not, old way we used to not even ask him, oh, just fly here, that 2019 Freightliner is waiting for you loaded. We would not even send them to drug test because we needed a driver so bad. And then most of us made that mistake. We got into accident. We had our trucks left in the middle of the country. And finally, most of Eastern Europeans in Chicagoland finally realized we cannot do this business the old way. Let's kind of learn how to run the safety and let's at least follow some regulations. So that's why it's a big difference. Why some people want to come and work in the smaller company? Well, because if you go to mega carrier, the hiring process sometimes takes what? A month and a half. Sometimes you have to fly there and you have to go through training and all of this for a week or two, and they still not gonna hire you. Well, the smaller carriers, they take the chance because they're like, oh my God, we still need a driver. But believe it or not, they will pay the price sooner or later. So let's say you have the consent. Well, the first rule is check his MVR. When you have his MVR, well, you need to make sure that he does not abuse the drug and alcohol, correct? Correct. So now everybody is required to do the full query in a clearinghouse for every applicant. Let's say you do it. That means that you as a company need to have an account. Driver will receive consent because every holder of the CDL is already in the system. If you cannot find him in the system, well, actually, here is a little trick I've been learning lately. Let's say I have a driver and I try to put him in a clearinghouse. Let's say it's Mike Smith, and I'm putting Mike Smith, and it says, well, CDL state, and it says cannot find the driver. You call the Mike back, and he says, no, I'm registered from the clearinghouse. Look at me. Here's my 2 previous companies. They were emailing me. So pay attention. Sometimes Mike Smith, when he was registering, or whoever was registering him to clearinghouse, did not pay attention. So instead of the first name, he put last name, and instead of the last name, he put the first name. So sometimes just switch. And now check the Smith Mike and the CDL, and there you go, you find the driver. So we are humans, things happen. So let's say you check, he's good to go. Well, now you need to make sure how much exactly this driver will cost you for your insurance, correct? So make sure you submit the quote before you're gonna promise him, oh, fly to Chicago, fly to New Jersey, drive to Memphis, because a lot of times, while the MVRs and PSPs are not gonna show everything, and so suddenly, well, you cannot even afford this driver. So make sure that's done. Let's say everything is good, driver is willing to fly, driver is willing to come. Well, maybe now it's time for you to do it legal way. Well, you need to have an application before all of this process where he actually puts his previous employment history. And I cannot stress out it enough in my classes. Maybe I don't do as much on safety on YouTube or TikTok, but guys, do not wait 30 days. We have 30 days to check previous employment. Believe it or not, you should do it the moment you receive that application. Because every driver is going to promise you that it wasn't him, it was a boss who was not a good person. And if you call one company, when you call a second company, when you call the third company, and you hear the same story, well, driver was late, driver was rude, driver was not controllable, driver actually left our truck in the middle of the country, do you still want to spend your energy and money and fly this guy? And a lot of times those kind of drivers, they will not even appear in airport, right? So do your hiring process. Do those phone calls. Check the PSP. Check the CDLIS report. Make sure you check him in every state, not just in the last state he has CDL. Do the background check. I love our drivers, but we do have a lot of kind of rotten people in trucking. And unfortunately, you as a small company, you cannot afford that. Let them go to the big mega carriers. Let them go to the Swift because they can afford their insurance and they can afford to buy another truck. Unfortunately, you will be out of business. You hire 2 drivers like this, they will put you out of business. So make sure you learn safety and compliance, what forms have to be signed, what forms you need to follow up with, and where can you catch those red flags. Okay, so let's see what else. How many weeks it will be? That's about the class. What do you think about the market? Is it ever gonna be better? Are you broker also? No, I'm not a broker. So let's answer this question. Okay. Can carrier be also a broker? Yes, you can be a broker. But let's realistically look at this. We have some brokers. We call them asset brokers, right? Let's say company as a New Prime, right? They have their own trucks and they also have their brokerage. Well, they've been in business for a while. They're a mega carrier. So for them, it's kind of okay to be a broker and a carrier under the same name. Let's picture I'm opening MC, correct? I'm opening MC and I am brand new carrier. And I listen to all the trucking gurus and I also file right away for brokerage MC. So let's say Alex Transportation MC as a carrier, Alex Transportation MC as a broker. Is that legal? Yes, it's legal. I can even be a contract carrier if I want to. I can get a freight forwarder authority. I can file for Canadian authority. I can file for Mexico authority as long as I have $300 for each authority and meet the requirements, right? File BOC3, primary liability if you are carrier $750, if you are broker surety bond for $75,000. So let's say I did it. I did not go that big. I just opened two authorities. I opened carrier and I opened the brokerage. Here I am with one truck, with my small box truck, or maybe with my first semi, power only. Or maybe I'm that lucky that I have a truck and trailer at least. So now I'm trying to set up with brokers. Because yes, I opened the brokerage, but I don't really know how to run brokerage. I don't have clients yet. I just come into this business. So now you're filling out paperwork for, let's say, TQL. Let's say C.H. Robinson. Let's say RXO. Any broker. And when you have to answer the question, well, do you have a brokerage MC as well? You indicating you are so proud. Yes, I have two MCs. Well, what do you think? Do you think that they're going to finish this process or they're going to say, well, we cannot really work with you at the moment? Believe it or not, nowadays, they don't really need to even have explanation. Well, why? Well, simply because this is a business. Why would any big brokerage would like to give the loads to the company who might become their competitor? Think about it. We have so many already carriers who are looking for those loads. So why would I set you up knowing that you also have brokerage MC? Because how usually does brokerage happening? Well, you start running the loads, you do the same loads all the time, and if you are really a good salesperson, sometimes you go to those shippers and receivers and you say, well, guys, I've been doing this load for a long time. Sometimes I book it with TQL, sometimes I book it with Coyote, sometimes I book it with whoever is there, right? And I grew to 6, 7, 8 trucks. I'm a good guy or I'm a good girl. So can we go directly with me? Plus, I know business. So usually that's how you get your first customers as a broker. Or you were a driver, or you're working in a big company. Let's say you work in Walmart or Costco. You work with produce company and you are in position, you are part of the logistics team. So then you have the contacts. And yes, then you decide to go on your brokerage side and you take some customers with you. But if you never knew what is logistics about, if you never knew how to dispatch, if you don't know the other side, do you really think by opening that MC, you're going to become a broker? No. Plus, you kind of going to kill the future for your new trucking company. So my personal advice, you can be a broker, but make sure it's two different companies. Make sure that you do not connect. Oh my God, look at that. I receive so many hearts on TikTok. That's why I like TikTok. On YouTube, we don't see any expressions. Thank you. Oh, I got my target. I'm like a little kid, right? Like my granddaughter. It's really hot in my office today. So if you excuse me, I will be powdering myself. Okay, so let's see. Thank you for the information. You're welcome. Let's see. So my advice to you, if you ever gonna open trucking company, well, make it separately. You can try both, but do not combine unless you're already mega carrier and you have at least 30, 40 trucks, and you can do so. Okay. So let's see what else. Hello. I saw your channel. I have some questions, but before asking, how are you doing today? Well, thank you, SK Logistics. I am doing well. Hopefully, you are guys all doing well as also. So, any questions, guys? How many of you are brand new dispatchers, or how many of you are thinking about becoming a dispatcher? Let's see. You can just put the comments, just a little stars or just likes or whatever. So let's see. Okay. We have few on YouTube. We have some on TikTok. Okay. When I say to carriers as a sale, my name is William from SZ Logistics. We have some loads for semi or box truck. Then carriers say, I'm not interested and directly hang up the call. Okay, so SK Logistics, are you a broker? Let me ask you this. Are you a broker? Because if you are calling carrier and you say that you have the loads for box trucks, right? Well, probably you trying to be in between. You're trying to be an independent dispatcher. So that's a big difference, because if you're a broker, I don't think they will hang up on you. So yes, you are dispatch service provider. Okay. So first, you're probably not going to like this, right? But when you call that carrier, first, they don't know who the hell you are. Second, this is not even your load. So what are you doing? You see the load posted on a load board because you dispatching somebody right now. You calling this guy. First, you don't even know MC of this guy, the insurance. You don't even know the driver. You don't even know if the broker who posted this truck is willing to work with this MC. So this is what I call dispatch circus, right? And that's why they hang up on you. And I would hang up on you, and I would suggest anybody to hang up on you, because if you want to be a dispatch service, then you should represent exactly this carrier, right? You need to make sure you talk to them first. They agree to share the information. They should agree for you to look for the loads. You cannot just look at the DAT. So let me ask you this. If I post on the DAT right now, truck somewhere, I don't know, let's say I post the truck, it's already late, 8 p.m. Let's see, let's put, let's say Nogales. I post the truck and I see the loads, right? So let's say post the truck and I see the load. I can call and ask for details, because probably you have at least one MC which you dispatch. So you call and you ask the details, and now you go and see who is posting trucks there. So you're trying to call them, correct? But again, you don't know. For example, right now I see SPI Logistics, ST Freight, Giro Logistics, Blue Trucking, A1 Value Logistics. Let's call you call. I see, I don't know who is watching. Shanta Smith is watching. Let's say Shanta Corporation, Shanta Trucking posted her truck. You call her and say, oh, I have a load for you. Let's say from Nogales to Newark, New Jersey. And then she's like asking you, okay, who are you? And you telling, well, I'm a Sky Logistics, I'm a dispatch service, and whose load is this? Well, actually, I can get you this load if you give me permission to do so. Well, first, by the time you call back Giro Logistics, that load is already not existing. Second, of course, she's not going to trust you because you're not broker. So why they hang up on you? Because you're not a broker. If I posted my truck, I want actually brokers to call me. I don't want an independent dispatch call me and try to book some imaginary load. So most of the people afraid of double brokering scams. So believe it or not, but that's what you do. You cannot just post the truck and then try to call 10 carriers to say, oh, I have a load for you. This is not a dispatching. This is just 1 day deal. And what's going to happen? You have no information. You have no authority. What are you going to do? You don't even know their driver. You don't know their ELDs. You don't know if this driver can even make the transit. You don't even know the freaking equipment. So how can you say, I have a load for you? I mean, seriously, Mr. William from SZ Logistics, right? Where are you from? Which country? Because I can bet that you're not William. That's another big thing I'm telling my students and I'm telling everybody, guys, we okay with you being in different country, but use your real name. We had enough Matt Damons in the trucking, right? We had enough of scams going on. You call somewhere from different country, doesn't matter which country it is. Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Pakistan, Philippines, Ukraine, Russia. People who live here, well, they know that you not William. So right there, you already start from the lies. You'd better tell me your real name and say, well, I'm outsourced company, but I know what I'm doing. Well, can you give me a chance? I mean, who is watching me? Do you guys agree with me or not? Yes or no? I mean, seriously. Okay. Shanta Smith, hello, how are you? Can you please explain how to vet carriers before starting to dispatch for them? I had a carrier contact me about dispatching service, and he was trying to use another company info. Again, if you guys trying to provide dispatch service, well, first, hopefully you know how to dispatch, right? So you went through training. It doesn't have to be my training. You can learn this on your own, right? If you want to learn on your own. Or, I mean, honestly, nowadays, without knowing how to do this, it's going to be hard. But let's say Shanta Smith, she learns how to do it, and now she's trying to web the carrier. Well, the scams goes both sides. Well, first, you need to have actually consultation with him, right? Probably via Zoom. You want to see the real person. They want to see who is Shanta Smith is. You want to see who is a Matt Damon is, right? If he's a carrier. So you want to talk to the person and see why are they looking for the new dispatch? What are the challenges? Why are they switching? Is that because they are switching dispatcher every load and they're looking for somebody as a SK Logistics to just book one load and disappear? Or what is the deal? You need to ask them a bunch of questions about equipment, about operational costs. You need to calculate that with them, right? You need to give them kind of explanation what you have been doing. What do you think would be good for this guy? If this guy lives, let's say, in Midwest and he's only one truck, would I suggest him to go all over the place? No, probably not. So you need to have a plan. You need to make sure you have all appropriate paperwork. And when you set up that carrier with brokers, please do not kill this opportunity for this guy, because first, you represent him. So only his information has to be on those setups, right? You only a secretary at that moment. Later, when you're going to be negotiating loads, yes, you will sign the trade confirmation. Make sure you protect yourself and you protect him with that limited power of attorney. Make sure that you really asking him what is he willing to do and not willing to do. So this process of starting dispatch, it doesn't take 1 day. It doesn't take 30 seconds. Oh, I see I have a load for you, right? Well, and who are you? You're not even the broker. So I don't know, guys. Maybe it's my personality, because I take things seriously. So I always want to make sure that everything done properly. Plus, I'm instructor. So I don't know. Okay. What else do we have? What else do we have here? Let's see. Questions. What strategies should we use as a new dispatchers for getting carriers for our dispatch business? We have loads boards and we can book loads on behalf of carriers MC. Well, you have load boards. Well, finally you have load boards. So you're still lucky to have load boards until the DAT and truck stop is going to take it from you. So how do you have load board nowadays as an independent service?